Have you ever tried to force yourself to be consistent and it just doesn't stick? Like, you know exactly what to do. You've probably learned the strategies. You've told yourself, this is the week, this is the month, this is the day that I'm going to show up. And then somehow it just absolutely does not happen the way you thought it would. And then the spiral starts. Why can't I just be consistent? What is wrong with me? I just need more discipline. All of that stuff. But what if discipline isn't actually the problem? If it doesn't light you up, it won't sell. And that is your sign to shift things in your business. Hi, I'm your host, Maggie Olson. I'm your business mentor, your human design expert, and the creator of the Magnetic Method Designed to Convert formula. I help women entrepreneurs just like you simplify their strategy, align their sales with their energy, and finally build a business that feels like freedom, not like pressure. After nearly 2 decades in entrepreneurship, I have learned that success isn't actually about doing more. It's about aligning with what already works for you, tapping into your natural energy. And here on the Chaos to Clarity podcast, we're going to blend human design with practical business strategy to help you attract clients naturally, sell with confidence, and grow with ease. So if you're ready to design a business that lights you up, converts with clarity, and learn more about working with me inside of the Magnetic Method mentorship and all of my other programs, you're going to find the link to all of that in the show notes, and you're going to find all of that information here on the podcast. So let's go ahead and dive into today's topic. Hello and welcome back to the Chaos to Clarity podcast. My name is Maggie. I'm your host, your business mentor, and your human design expert. And this podcast is where we blend actual business strategy with practical tips to help you step into your energy that you find in your human design chart. So we're blending human design and business. I'm so excited. Let's get into today's episode. And today we're talking about something that I see everywhere in the online service industry, in the coaching and mentoring industry. And that's, if you are not getting the results that you want, it's because you're not disciplined enough. So I know I've definitely listened to other podcasts and I've been in spaces where, I've been told, you need to be disciplined. And yes, I believe that you need to have consistency. You need to have some form of discipline. But what if it's not discipline as in we need to show up 24/7? Okay, because a lot of people, when they think, oh, I just need to be more consistent, I need to be more disciplined, that then leads them down this rabbit hole of I need to hustle more. And what if it's not actually the hustle that we're after? Okay, because when people think about I have to be more disciplined, they make themselves this calendar and they do all this checklist, and it's good for like a day or maybe a week or a couple weeks, but then something happens and you fall off, right? So, it's things like, oh, I'm going to wake up earlier, I'm going to post more, I'm going to follow stricter routines, I'm going to, time block my day, blah, blah, blah. But after being an entrepreneur for nearly 20 years, this is something that I've seen over and over and over in all of my clients, even in myself. Okay, so I'm not immune to this. However, I will say that I've gotten myself to a space where I recognize it sooner. So when I recognize it, I realize, okay, I'm going down this rabbit hole that I don't actually want to go down. It's time to reroute and get on the path that I need to be on. So after almost 20 years in business, most people don't lack discipline, is what I've discovered. Okay, so yay, cheers. You are consistent even when you don't realize it. Okay, you're probably, though, trying to force yourself into doing something or operating in a way that doesn't actually work for you, which is why I blend human design into my coaching and mentoring programs. That's why we look at that energy so that okay, I'm a projector. right? I'm not going to have the same stamina and energy as a manifesting generator. Or, oh, I'm a generator. No wonder why I want to get the work done right away. I'm not like a projector, right? Who needs a little bit of extra space and time. Now, I will also say everyone needs rest. Everyone needs space and time to think. Everyone needs hobbies, something that you're doing aside from being at your computer screen. Okay, you need time away from your business. And this is a whole other tangent that I will get into in a different episode. And it's why I stopped calling my business my baby, because I want my business to run. I want to set it up so that it's functional, so that it generates and helps me bring in what I want to, the revenue, the clients, etc. Right? If I'm calling my business my baby, then therefore the mentality of a baby is I have to be tending to it always. And that's not what I want. I want to set up systems and structures and strategies that are going to run without me having to sit there and babysit. So that is just a little side tangent that I will be going down in a future episode. So back to what we were talking about. Now, if you're feeling like you are trying to force yourself into operating in a way that doesn't actually feel good or work for you, what happens when you do that? You then create resistance, and then inconsistency happens, and then you start to feel guilty because the problem is you, right? Hi, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. Actually, you're not. Right? It doesn't have to be that way. And what is happening when this happens, okay? So when you try to do something and it doesn't work, you feel the resistance, and then you get inconsistent because you're like, I don't actually want to do that. And now you're feeling guilty because, yet again, I haven't done the thing that I said I was going to do. So what actually happens when this is going on? Okay, so this is what's going on. You're choosing methods that don't match how you naturally think, communicate, and sell. So of course it's going to feel hard. Now, these three things, right? How you think, how you communicate, and how you sell can be found in your human design chart. But more importantly, if you're like, I'm not so sure about human design, I want you to think about what happens when you are thinking about something. What happens when you want to communicate something, right? Say you want to sell your spouse on buying a new bed, right? Or I don't know, buying a new car. You want to sell your spouse, your significant other, on something, right? How do you do that? How do you sell that? Even if you want to flip-flop this, if you have kids, and this is something that as my kids have gotten older, I've really started to notice, okay, when they want something, they are hard selling me. They are hard selling my husband, right? Their dad. They are hard selling us. Mom, I want this. Mom, I want this. Mom, wouldn't it be cool if? Mom, think of all the cool things I could do with blah, blah, blah. Okay? They are hard selling. Now, I'm not saying you need to go into your DMs and hard sell people, but I do want you to think, how do you sell? How do you convince someone to buy ice cream? Okay? Start small, right? It doesn't have to be this big thing. So if you are not using methods that feel natural and good for you, it's going to feel hard. It's going to feel like, well, that never works. Okay. And again, I see this all the time with clients in my programs, with clients that I meet on strategy calls with especially with people who are doing offer audits with me, right? The free 30-minute offer audit that I have. People are forcing themselves to post every single day when they actually convert best in conversations. People are creating content instead of actually inviting people to work with them because it's scary to go out there and message someone and say, hey, I know we were talking about ABC thing. I've been thinking, would it be valuable for us to explore this more? But if you go back to my kids, right, or your kids, and they really want that toy, Okay. They really want that thing. They're going to keep going back to it. Hey, I know we talked about, wouldn't it be cool if, okay. Now I'm not saying you have to hard sell. What I'm saying is that you need to learn your selling and your buying, right? Tendencies. You need to learn that, and then you need to practice with the people that are in your network, who are on your friends list, okay? Who have subscribed to you to say, "Hey, I'm interested in what you're doing." Most of the time, people don't actually know what you're doing, what your programs are. Okay? So instead of, I just need to be more consistent, you need to figure out the method that actually works for you. Okay, so it's not that you're lacking discipline. You're using methods that don't fit you. Now, where does human design come into all of this? It comes in with your human design type. Okay, so I'm a manifesting generator. Some people would say I'm all over the place, but something else you can look at is, I like diversity. How can I speak to my audience in many different ways? I love to create reels. I love to be on stories. I love to have carousel or static posts. I love to be in Facebook groups. Okay, there's so many places. Now, I'm not saying you have to do it all. What I'm saying is you need to pick a couple. I would say, I tell all of my clients, pick 2 to 3 places where you want to show up, where you want to be able to have conversations in a way that feels good for you. And then you need to know the journey that someone needs to take. I know I've talked so much about client journey in the past few episodes here on the Chaos to Clarity podcast, but it's so important because the more and more I look into and connect with people, the more I realize they don't believe in their offer because they don't know the journey that someone has to take to go from cold to sold. And again, it comes back to, it's not because you're not consistent. You're just not using the method that feels really good for you. So let's get into how you can shift, right? So I've talked about, you don't need more discipline, but you do need to be consistent, but you have to find consistency. And how do you do that, right? So now that I've muddied the waters for you, let's clear the waters up, okay? Because you don't need more discipline. You need methods that feel natural enough that you're like, oh my gosh, that was easy. I can do this. I can show up and do this. And it feels good to me. That's where the shift comes in. And that's where people are like, I'm just going to push through. And that push, well, yes, you can do that. And yes, there will be times, especially if you're trying on a new strategy, there will be times where you're like, I don't know. I don't really actually want to do this. And then you have to explore, okay, why? Why don't I want to do this? Does it feel unnatural? Am I just being shy? What and why? You have to get curious. And then you have to understand, if I stop doing this, what am I going to start doing instead? So again, you probably don't need more discipline. You need methods that feel natural enough to repeat. Now, for me, I love to talk. So podcast and Facebook or Instagram lives are things that I love to do because they generate me more content. So I can create 1 or 2 larger pieces of content, and then that can then fill in my week. Okay. Now, what does this have to do with discipline and consistency? I'm doing less to create more, which means I, someone who has a defined throat, can spend more time talking and listening to my audience. Okay, I can spend time in the comments. I can spend time in the DMs. I can spend time on offer audits, all of those things. And that really brings me joy. But I had to get really clear on that. So again, consistency is not something you're going to be able to force. It's something that when you do it, you're like, it can't be this easy. Is it this easy? It's this easy. Are we for real? Are you sure it gets to be this easy? That's when you know that you've landed in that place where it's like, oh, I can absolutely show up and do this. But if you don't go and explore those things of how do you like to sell? How do you like to buy? What do you do when you're selling something, right? To a spouse or to a friend, when you're sharing about something that you love? How does that show up? That's going to tell you a lot, even without looking at your human design. So if consistency isn't something that you force and it's something that happens when it makes sense, it feels aligned, it actually works. Okay, now, it's something that you show up and naturally do. So you can do this, right? You can do this. Yes, I'm here to cheer you on, but also think about it from this angle. If you go to a friend, because if a lot of people get stuck here, and I've noticed this a lot coming up in offer audits and on strategy calls. People are like, I don't know how I sell. I don't know how I, quote unquote, convince. I don't know how I like to have conversation. Some of that is your ego being like, I don't know, let's play the guessing game here. Okay. But you'll know when it lands with you, you'll sink into this feeling of like, oh, here it is. This is it. This is it. Okay. So for me, again, what I've learned about myself is that I don't love batching content for hours. And I don't love sitting down and forcing posts, right? Forcing like static posts. I don't love those things. However, I do love being in conversations, going live, sending voice notes, responding in real time. Okay. So going live, creating a podcast, right? Things where I get to use my voice. Now, I know I talked a little bit about your human design type. Okay. Now, if you start to explore your throat center, right, whether it's defined or undefined, you can also explore, and these are things that we can explore in an offer audit, in a strategy call. They're absolutely things that we explore in my one-on-one and group programs. Okay. We explore these things so that you can get to know yourself a little bit better. So I can talk all day. Okay. I love being in conversation. I love sending voice notes. I love podcasting, going live, responding in real time. That's when I really come alive. And it gives me something to respond to. So going back to my human design type, I'm a manifesting generator. I'm a sacral type. Okay. Now 70% of the world is a sacral type. So 70% of the world is out there going, I need something to respond to. So think about that, especially if you're a projector, reflector, a manifester. Your content probably needs a CTA. Okay. I notice that all the time. A lot of people don't put a CTA in their content. So people will read it and be like, okay, thumbs up. Yay, moving on. There's nothing to respond to. Okay. Now, when I build my business around what I love to do, it feels so much easier. Okay, so if you hate showing up, it's not you, it's the way you're trying to show up. You're going against the grain. So of course it's going to feel hard. Of course it's going to feel super uncomfortable. Of course it's not going to feel natural. And you're going to feel like, I really don't want to be dancing in front of my phone screen. Okay, so let's think about a little disruption, right? A little interruption here. What I really want you to hear in all of this is if you hate showing up in your business, it's not because you're lazy. Quite honestly, it's because you're trying to show up in a way that just does not fit you. So I would I would encourage you to go and explore. Well, what does feel good? What platform do I feel most natural on? Where do I want to show up and talk? What do I want to show up and talk about? So most people don't need a better strategy. They need a better fit. They honestly need a system behind the strategy. But again, that's a podcast for a whole other day, because that is also something that I help people do. I help people build the system to support the strategy that they are doing. That is a big piece of what I do with my clients. Because you can go and download all the strategies you want. You can download all the freebies. You can opt into all the programs. But if you don't have a system that matches or supports your strategy, it's also not going to work. And everything that I've talked about today in this podcast is and are things that I help my clients shift inside of the Magnetic Method program. This is, something where inside this program, I don't just give you another strategy to follow. We don't just go through and say, implement this strategy. No, we look at how you actually operate. This is why inside the group program, it's a 6-month program. So you get 6 one-on-ones with me because I want you to have a check-in point with me so that you don't get lost in the sauce. Right? We have a chat so that you can get real-time feedback from me if you need it and want it. So you're not waiting week to week for the call to just get some sort of answer to then be another week behind. Okay. So we're looking at how you actually operate. What do you like to do? How do you like to show up? Where do you like to show up? What do you like to show up as? Okay. We clean up how you're bringing in clients. We clean up your client journey. We create a client journey for most people because they don't know how people go from cold to sold. We then begin to refine your conversations. You start to use your conversations as market research. You learn what questions you like to ask, and you don't have to follow like a strict flow to your conversations, right? I encourage everyone to bring in curiosity to their conversations, but more importantly, you kind of start to learn, okay, this is where this conversation is heading. I'm going to ask, here's a bank of questions that I have about my offer to see what this person will say, to see how they will react, to see what kind of things they're doing, right? Curiosity can get you so far, right? Like it can bring you so many cool things and opportunities that you might not even realize you have. Okay. So we look at how you operate. We clean up how you're getting clients. We give you a client journey, right? We, as in you and me, we build your client journey so that you know how people are coming in and going out. We refine your conversations. Okay, I teach you how to have conversations, how to have better conversations that feel more natural, that don't feel like, oh my God, I have to DM 27 people. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Okay, conversations are so much deeper than that. And then we also, again, build a structure, framework that supports your strategy. So you're not relying on discipline to just hold your business together. You're not relying on hustle to hold your business together. And at the end of the day, instead of, I hope this works, or my business is my baby, I have to show up for it every single day, it now becomes, I know exactly how someone becomes my client, but your business then grows. It goes through an evolution where it can support you. Okay, you've grown your business, and yes, it needs support, but you've built the framework, you've built the strategy, and you're not having to show up 24/7. Okay, you're gone are the days of hustle. I just want to say that, right? Like that is definitely something that I don't hustle in my business. Do I show up? Am I consistent? Yes, but in my own way. And that is really important. So in this program, in any of my programs, right? Whether you're in the group Magnetic Method program, the one-on-one Magnetic Method program, a strategy call, anyone who works with me, you become someone who really knows how to move people into decisions. And I am not talking about used car salesmen, right? You're selling from your heart. You're selling from that place where you're like, I am so excited to support you. I can't wait for you to have these. I can't wait for you to have these breakthroughs. I can't wait for you to grow. I'm so excited to see you win. Okay. Which means you're building your know, like, and trust with other people so that then they feel seen, heard, and understood. Those two are like yin and yang, right? You need people to know, like, and trust you. And then you need to be able to see, understand, and know that other person. Okay. So you're feeling supported, right? You're feeling supported in your business. You're feeling supported by your clients, and everyone is then growing, which at the end of the day means you don't have to try harder. You're simply shifting how you sell. And it's really about getting to know yourself in your business. So if you're listening to this and you're realizing, I have been trying to force this to work in a way that just does not feel right, I want you to, as always, my DMs are wide open. You're talking to me when you send me a DM. So I want you to DM me the word client, and I'm going to send you a link so that we can get on an offer audit call, and let's actually take a look at what is going on in your business, and I'll help you. I'm going to help you see where things are breaking down, what's not working, and just really how you can shift how you're showing up so that you feel super supported in your business by your business, so that you understand your client journey, so that you understand where is money coming in, where is money going out, all of that stuff. So if this resonated with you, I want you to follow me, share this, subscribe, all those things, right? All the things. Share this with a bestie who needs to hear this, because I know that you know somebody who needs to hear this episode today. I'm so excited. I'm always cheering you on. So if you ever have questions, please feel free to slide right into my DMs. Ask me the questions. Tell me what resonated most with you about any episode you've listened to, and I will see you in the next episode.